What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cat Dad Show. My name is Scott Colby. I am your host. I can't wait for this topic today. We're going to talk about all about traveling with a cat, which I don't know how to do because I've never been able to hardly get my cats in the car for 5 minutes, much less travel a country with them or maybe several countries with them, which is what our special guest, Daisy Hilbrands, and I know I got your name wrong, but she travels all over with her cat Eve, doing the van lifestyle. Daisy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having us. And also, thank you for having Eve because she's lying with me right
Yes.
here.
I was hoping Eve would make an appearance on the show, so you've already
Yep.
made me very happy. So Daisy is a transformation coach. She's been doing the kind of the digital nomad lifestyle, traveling around with Eve for about the last 4 years. So we're really going to dig in on how she does this because, like I said, there's probably a lot of viewers out here who want to travel with their cat, but they don't know how. So Daisy, I want you to first start off by telling me just a little bit about Eve, how old she is, what's her personality like, and maybe one word to describe her.
Yes. So Eve is now 14 years old. I got her from a shelter when I lived in Denmark, what I did 14 years ago. She is extremely cuddly as a cat. Yeah, pretty much every time I sit down or lie down somewhere, she will be on top of me. So that is her main personality.
I love it. And just to for just detail purposes, you're from Denmark originally.
Yes,
You're
yes,
living currently in Berlin.
yes, I am.
And right now you're currently not traveling. You're at a home in
No,
Berlin. Okay.
I am at my home in Berlin, and what you say, the year pretty much is traveling for longer time in the van, around 3 to 4 months each year. Then some time in Berlin, then some other travel that is often not by the van, but either by train or other things, or just driving to a city and have an Airbnb. Back to Berlin again, and then a longer time of traveling again. So it's really, I think, in total I perhaps is in Berlin half of the year. Normally try to get here in the summer because Berlin is very nice in the summer and it's not that nice in the winter.
Okay. Very cool. Well, I love that you're in different locations. That's a great lifestyle.
Mm.
Tell me how you came to the decision to travel with your cat, because just a little bit about my background with cats. I currently have two cats that are new to me. I've had them for 4 months, Nico and Milo. So we haven't traveled in a car even that much. But my previous cats, Nomar and Mia, I could never hardly get them in the car before they got sick or they were just meowing the whole time. So I got it in my head like, gosh, I could never do anything like you're doing because they just hate the car so much. So how did you come to the decision to travel in the van with Eve? And was she always comfortable with that idea?
In fact, the idea of it came from my first cat I had. So my first cat I got when I moved from home and had her for 21 years, and it was when I moved from home. And in that period, I did move quite a lot of times. And one thing I learned very fast with her was if I put her in a box, she went crazy. If I put her in a harness with a leash on and put her on my lap, I had the most calm cat ever. And then I could take her with me to friends' summer houses on the public transport, because at that point I didn't have a car, so it was public transport I did it with. So that was the first learning a little bit from her, of saying, okay, if we're gonna travel with Eve in the van, she needs to be free in the van.
And then, like, was she like was she already like an outdoor cat, indoor, outdoor?
No,
Or...
she
Okay.
was an apartment cat for 10 years.
Oh,
Yes.
and it's
And
great that
then
we were able to make that transition at being 10 years old. Some people may think like, oh, I need to start the outdoor life, the travel life when they're young, when they're kitten and they're still
yeah,
learning about the world. But you did it at age 10.
yeah. And I also think it in fact do have an advantage of doing it that way around, because she is very fixated on me. I'm her safe spot. She have lived with me for 10 years in an apartment. She knows me. So that, for example, also means when park the van for the night and open, and she runs freely outdoor of the van also. She start in smaller circles, and she checks in with me all the time to see if I'm still there. And when she have realized I'm there, then she starts to relax.
She checks in with you.
Yes, she checks in with me.
So what does that mean? What does that look like?
It means she runs away from 10 minutes, and then she comes back and she just cuddles her head against the legs, and then she runs again and comes back 15 minutes after, cuddles against the leg, and then just going back and forth.
That's awesome. Have you ever been worried that she would go off exploring and not return, or
Yes,
chase
of
another
course.
animal? Yeah.
Of course. Of course, I'm worried, and and also what you say, especially the first what you say, what I started with was in fact where I'm sitting right now. That is a colony garden, so that's a small plot of land with a little house on. So I started first to bring her here and see if I let her out and let her run freely, if she would come back to me very fast, and if I call her, if she comes. So the first try of it was saying, okay, we're gonna spend a month here and see if she's comfortable of being moved from the apartment to an outdoor environment, and if she's still coming. And also a little bit to find out how much of a explorer is she. And she's not a big explorer. She's not gone for hours.
Okay. I know we're going to focus, a lot more on Eve, but I do want to get to know you a little bit, Daisy. What inspired you to leave the corporate world and start your own transformation coaching business and live that digital nomad lifestyle where you're doing some traveling?
Yeah, it was in fact. I originally came to Berlin on a stationary for bigger corporate company, and when they wanted me to come back to Denmark, I was like, no, I like Berlin. So we agree on that. Was the time where we separated. I have been with the company at that point at 12 years, and then I was already at that point, what you say, the stationary I asked for to Berlin was a little bit a part of this one of, I felt locked in, what you say, a normal work life of having to work 8 to 5 every day. So I was a little bit, okay, then I changed to Berlin. It was a new city. I love Berlin, also why I stayed here. But it was still this one of having to go to work in a fixed hour every day for 5 days a week. I was just, it must be possible to do something else. So, in fact, when I left the company, I worked in research in microbiology. I was thinking, hey, I'm going to take a data science education because then I can be a freelancer. And I started to take a data science and realized, 2 months into it, that was not me at all. And then I was a little bit okay. I do have a degree in microbiology. I have a lot of experience in microbiology. You can't work remote or freelancer as a microbiologist. You need a laboratory. So, what other career can I find? And there, by coincidence, I ran into a coach. I had a friend who was taking a coaching training, and one of their, what you say, voluntarily guinea pigs didn't show up. So he pushed me and say, "Hey, I know you're not doing anything. Come here and find out what and help us to be the guinea pig in this coaching session." And I said, "Of course, yes." The coaching session went terrible, but what I brought up as my subject was this one of, I want to change my life. I know how I want it to look like, but I don't know how to do it. So afterward, their teacher called me, and in 3 questions, she cleared my mind totally about what I needed to do. And then I was like, oh, how did she do that? I want to learn how to do that. And then I took a coaching training because what I got out of the coaching was there, financially, I could take a year's break. I could take a year break. I could travel. I was not squeezed in that way. So what I found out was I need to think about what to do. So I'm gonna take a year break, but I was thinking, okay, I can take a coaching training in that year. Just I like my brain to have something to do. And yeah, the first module, I was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. So that is how I ended in coaching.
Yeah, I love that. And, I want to acknowledge you because sometimes it's not easy to make that shift, one, from the corporate world to starting your own business, your own coaching practice, and two, to take your life on the road. Again, it takes some courage to do that, especially, we can list all the things that wouldn't go right with having a life on the road, like having a cat. Like I said, my mindset is like, I'll never be able to do that because I've got two cats. There's no way I could live on the road with them. But you overcame any limiting beliefs around that. And I want to acknowledge you. And now you have that story that you can share with your clients and who are probably coming to you to make a transformation as well. So
Yes.
very nice. Tell me a little bit about your van. I don't know if that's a weird question, but would love to know like where you got your van, what is it outfitted with, and where do you typically park it when you are on the road?
Yes, it's a Volkswagen T4. It's a second-hand bought one, so it has been built by the previous owner, and it's primitive. There is no kitchen, there is no toilet, there is no bath. There is a bed who goes into a sofa, and there is storage, and I have a small little gas where I can heat water and make simple cooking. So it's not fancy at all. It has that very big advantage that it looks like a normal car, because as I do travel with a cat, I do prefer to stay in nature. So I like to park in parks and woods and along the beach and things like that. And no one sees this van and think that is a big RV, which you will not be allowed to park in nature in most country.
Awesome. And then like how has it been? Like, do you ever feel crowded because you do have a cat in the van as well?
Nope.
No.
No.
What do you need to make sure that you have, besides of course like litter and cat food? What else are some of the things that you got to make sure that you kind of keep your van stocked with for Eve's comfort?
Yes. I have some special treats I use to lure her if she's not coming when I'm calling, but if she's lying and sleeping somewhere. So those are always stocked up. I have what you say. I need to have a papers what else because I'm crossing country borders. She has a harness on, and there is an ID in the harness. I do also have attached to one of the seat a leash. So if I do need to leash her here and now, so she doesn't jump out. For example, if I got stopped at a border control and they want to check the van, then I need to make sure when they open the door in the back that she doesn't jump out. And then I do have a small transport box, but one of these one foldable, so it doesn't take a lot of room. But if I should need to take her to the vet or anything like that, just in case. And I also use it if I go to a bigger city. Either I only stay during the day, and then I park in a parking house underground, so it's dark and cold, and then she just lies and sleep during the day. Or I rent an Airbnb, because having a cat stuck in a van for several days, that I don't think is not the optimal for her, and I am a little bit forcing her into my lifestyle. I think if she could choose, she would live in this garden all the time. If
Really?
it was her choice.
Yeah, that's great to know that you aren't always sleeping in the van. You rent some Airbnbs or have other accommodations. What were some of
Yeah.
the initial challenges? Like when you first started this van life, what were some of the initial challenges or obstacles that you needed to overcome?
the very first time I took her on, I had her on a leash. And the first time I let her go off the leash and just trusted she will come back to me, that was a little uh, breaking to see of how that would go. But I also knew that I didn't want to keep on traveling in a van in this way with having to have her on a leash all the time. So it was finding a good spot with good view, no other people inside, and then just see what happened. Also, what you say, the first time we met dogs was also a little bit okay. I don't know how she is with dogs. And I always try to avoid crowd. I don't take the crowded van. You can find these crowded like group where it's a big group of van people park, and it can be very cozy and very nice, and you eat together and things like that. I don't do that because I know it stresses her. So the first time we met a dog, it was also a little bit like having an eye on how she reacts. And she's if she sees a dog and that I knew in advance, then she jumps into the van. So the van has become her safe spot. And if the dog doesn't do anything, she just keep an eye on it. So not what you say, super comfortable, but also not going into panic. But of course, the first time I parked and woke up in the morning and opened the door, she sleeps with me in the van. Open the door, then she normally jump out. So the first time she did that and jump out, and there was a van next to us with two dogs. It was a little bit okay. What's gonna happen now? But you say, luckily, most people who travel in vans with dogs have very well-behaved dogs, because otherwise they can't travel with them in a van.
Yeah.
So the dogs just looked at the cat, and the cat looks at the dog, and back into the van again. So
back to the Airbnbs, do you find it hard to find homes that will allow a cat to be in their home because they might scratch furniture up? Or
no, okay. Not at all. And I even also sometimes, if I found something where it's perfect, and you can on Airbnb, you can put a filter that pets should be allowed, but sometimes you find something that is perfect and it doesn't say pets allowed. I have also then I just write the host and say, hey, I do have a cat with me. Is it okay? And so far, everybody have said yes. What I'm most surprised about is hotels says yes, because I would never imagine a hotel will allow a cat. I have never gotten a no from a hotel.
Yeah, I've actually, because I moved cross country a few times, not all the way cross country, but 20-hour moves with my two previous cats. And, the moves took 2 or 3 days, so I would have to stay in a hotel. And if any hotel owners that I stayed at are watching, I'm sorry. I told you I didn't have any cats with me, and I snuck them in, so I didn't have to pay the fee. But do you look for Airbnbs where the Airbnb owner doesn't have any dogs or cats, or do you not concern yourself with that?
I always look for having the whole place for myself.
Okay, perfect.
So in that sense, it doesn't matter if they do have a dog or a cat, as long as it's not there while I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I know you mentioned that you and Eve also travel by train, so not just your van. So tell me some of the circumstances where you would take Eve on a train, and how does she do with that? Have there been any challenges?
Also, she's very comfortable. Again, as soon as I take her out of the box, she's good. So I'm always trying to either find a space where there's not sitting too many people, and I also reserve 2 seats, because then I know I have a seat for her, and not have someone sitting next to me that perhaps will be irritated of having a cat sitting on top of them. So as soon as she's out of the box, she's comfortable. She's not in the van. She lies and groom herself, and she comes up to me and say hi, and then she go back and lie and sleep, and I can hear her purr. She's not as comfortable in a train. She's not panicking either, but she's more, what do you say, alert on a train.
You know, a lot of cats are notorious for not liking travel. Like I mentioned, my two previous cats were not a big fan of just getting in the car. May have been part because the only time we got into a car, we were going to the vet, and they probably associated the car with a vet. But what advice maybe would you give somebody? Like I've got two new cats now, so maybe what advice would you give me, Daisy, on
Yes.
if I wanted to start traveling more with my two cats? And I am not even really talking about a van, but just maybe taking them to some outdoor type places. How would I even kind of get started with that?
Yeah. I will say the first advice I will give is having 2 transport boxes. So you have one you use for the vet, and then you have another one you use when you're traveling.
Transport boxes, you mean so like what we call cat carriers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So make sure the one you take to them with the vet is not the one you use when you're going traveling with them, because you know yourself, cat is very good in remembering things, and if they're gonna be put in a box that normally goes to the vet, then they're not gonna like it, and they're gonna be alert when would they be at the vet. So I have always have different boxes, saying one is for traveling and one is for vet visits.
I love that. Now what?
Yeah.
What next?
What next? Get a harness. Get them used to have a harness on. And I will say that's a little bit of what you say. Eve is amazing in doing Houdini. So I think that it took me 8 harness before I found one she wasn't out of in 3 seconds. And the one she have now, she can also, if she really wants, she can get out of it. But she accepted, and she has it on almost all the time, unless I am in the apartment with her. All the other times she always have the harness on. And it's also she is both tattooed and has a tip, but for me it's also a very easy way for people to see that this cat belongs to someone. So that is also for me a security that she doesn't look like a stray cat. So if something happened to her, people will take it to a vet, and then they can read both the tattoo and the tip, and I can get my hands on her again. So I will say that's the first thing: get her used to a harness, because if your cats are used to a harness, then you can use a leash. And the next point is find a park where there is no dogs, or find green areas without dogs and without kids, and just let them go and discover them for themselves. So don't try to walk the cat. Let them walk you on the leash and see if they like it.
So don't walk. So let them kind of lead. They're on the leash, but they're leading the way. Okay.
Exactly. So they can explore and see if they like being outside. Then there is also the training of how to call your cat to you. So I have some special treats. Thank you. There was the word treat. Yeah. So, and when I put them together, they make a special sound. And she knows when I do that, she gets a treat, because that sound travels further than my voice.
Oh.
But this treat she also only gets when I call her. So she will never get it just as a treat at home. There I have others she gets. This one is her favorite, the one she goes crazy about. And that one I use to ensure that I can call her when I want to call her.
Amazing. I love these tips.
Yeah. So really find the special one they go crazy about, and then say, hey, that is the one.
Okay.
And then I will say the most important part is a little bit of, you can't travel as you normally would without a cat as you can with a cat. There are limitations. For example, if we don't leave before 10 o'clock in the morning, She is so comfortable and want to lie and sleep out in nature for the rest of the day, so I can forget anything about getting her into the van.
Mm.
And that is also what you say, one of the things that have been very important for me. Perhaps I have what you say, a little bit trick her into the van, but I have never put her by force into the van. So this really needs to be a place she feels comfortable being, and she wants to go herself.
I love that. It's a partnership here where
Yeah.
she's kind of leading a little bit there.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I live in a fairly small one-bedroom apartment with two cats, and I have dry food, wet food, treats, litters, places for them to sleep. Now, thinking about all that in a van, how does that work? Like, where you do the litter, the food, does the van just smell like cat, or what is that situation like? How do you manage all of that?
yeah. She has litter. She only use it. What do you say? You can't train a cat like you can train a dog. So when we stop, you can pee. But she do prefer to do it outside. So it's quite rarely she's using the litter. It's only if I drive, and I will say over 6 hours or something, she will use the litter. It is there so she doesn't get stressed out by can't go to the toilet, but she normally just go outside. So that part is in fact quite easily.
Hmm.
Um, she doesn't get wet food. She has always only got dry food. She got special dry food. So so that is easy also to transport. What I do is I pack it. What you can say? I buy one of the big package, 20 kilos, and then I pack it down into around 1.5 kilos bags. So I don't have a 20-kilo bag standing around. So I can pack it all the extra away and just have the one I'm feeding her from. Um, but yeah, I also think it's a little bit of a priority of she has, what do you say, for example, a lamb skin she loves sleeping on. So that one I bring, but in fact, she loves the lamb's skin on top of my shoebox. So
Mm.
that's where the lamb skin is.
Yeah.
So she's lying on top of my shoes. Um, I have one of these wolf cave things, but normally in the van is folded together. It's more if I rent an Airbnb and go to a hotel, I bring that one with the lambskin inside, so she has something that smells familiar
No.
in a new place.
Yeah. Awesome. Has she ever run off and disappeared and not come back?
Once, once
What?
in once in France, she was gone 24 hours.
Tell me about this.
Yeah, it was. She has never done that before. It was the car broke down. I needed to go to a repair shop, and I was staying on that hotel while we were waiting for the car to be fixed. And I think I came to this. It was like one of these small friends bed and breakfast chateaus in a small village. And when I came there on Wednesday, I was the only guest.
Hmm.
Um, and they have a very big, nice garden, and they had cat themselves. And they say she was allowed to run out. So I opened the window in my room. They have given me one in the ground, and she just jumped in and out like she normally do with the van. Uh, Everything fine, everything normal, everything as it normally was. Then on Saturday, there arrived a wedding party. So suddenly
Hmm.
the garden was full of people who was talking and drinking, and suddenly she was gone. She didn't come back to sleep at night with me like she always does, and she didn't come the next morning.
Because of the
And
number of people there, probably, or
I'm
okay.
guessing it was the people, yeah. The environment changed so much, so
Hmm.
she didn't feel safe by coming. Um, and the problem was also this was Friday evening. The wedding guest arrived. and she didn't come and sleep with me Friday and Saturday. I needed to check out, and I knew that because on Saturday even more wedding guests would come, so there was no room available from there. And the van was also fixed, so I could drive on. And she didn't come the whole Saturday. And I went around in the area and with the snacks and called for her. I put some of her litter out to lure her in if she had run out of her normal territory to know where I was. And then I just parked the van in the back of the garden and waited and was like, okay, let's see what happened. And then she came at 2:00 at night.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And then I put her in the van and then I drove off.
What was it like for you not to have her for 24 hours?
Yeah. So and I was worried. I was not worried that what you say something would have happened to her because it was a small village, quite calm and things like that. But I was worried she has gotten so far out that she couldn't find her way back. And also, when you are in nature, you don't have the obstacle you have in a city that suddenly you are in a backyard where there's only one way out and perhaps someone closed the gates or something like that. So I was worried she was trapped somewhere. So she had got scared. She didn't wanted to come back for the night, had found somewhere quiet to lay down and wait. And then she has got trapped there. So that was my worry, that she was trapped somewhere.
Happy reunion.
Very happy reunion.
What a relief. I can't imagine what I would do if my cats disappeared for... I get worried, like, if I can't find them in my apartment, they're hiding. And you know they're in there, but you can't find them sometimes. So have you ever had to... Has Eve ever been anxious due to some, place that you've stayed or an extended travel time where you needed to do something to calm her, to lower her anxiety? And if so, what are some of the things that you've used to help with any anxiousness?
Yes. If she gets anxious, she doesn't get anxious with extension driving. She just don't like it. So normally I really try to not keep the driving more than 5 hours per day. And I like slow traveling, so it's not a problem at all. I like taking the small road, the small villages and things like that. But as I am in Berlin, in Germany, and we have been to the UK, we have been to France, we have been to Portugal, we have been to Spain. Sometimes it needs a longer drive to get there. So, and it's quite funny when she gets tired about driving, then she normally she lies in the back of the van and just sleeps. But just behind the seat, there is like a table. And then she jumps up to that table. And then she starts meowing into my ear. Like, okay, now we need to stop. Which can be a little bit distracting.
Yes.
And normally I cuddle her a little, and then she lies down again. But it will continue until we stop.
Okay.
So I'm really trying to avoid these because also, as I said, for this to work, the van needs to be a safe and good environment for her. So having to drive 10 hours for a week is not gonna work. But otherwise, if she gets scared by something, I have moved campsites for the night, even though I think it's perfect. But there is something who make her on edge, and she doesn't want to get out of the van, or she starts shaking because she's stressed. And then I just pack and I move because that doesn't work, that she's not feeling comfortable of where we're staying. And sometimes I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's a smell of some animals I can't detect, who makes her uncomfortable, and then I leave. Then I find a new place where she likes to be. Um, I'm also, for example, I'm not parking close to traffic roads, like heavy traffic roads, because yeah, it's just a stress situation. So it's also finding the spots that are good for her.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you want to find spots that where if she ran off, she wouldn't, get hit by a car or just have that stress of traffic noise. How do you find these spots that are more secluded or more out in nature?
yeah. Different things there is in Europe. There is an app that is called Park for Night. There is for nature campers, so where you can find different places. And then I have become very good in reading Google Maps,
Hmm.
of finding a good spot. So, for example, anything there says ruin. So an old castle or an old church, there is a ruin. Those spots are perfect. There is nobody at night, uh, and it's often quite remote, unless it's one what do you say, a big tourist attraction. Then I will not take it. But also around forests, she very much enjoy being in the forest. That is her favorite place we can stay at. That is a forest. uh, Her most disliked place is a beach. I don't know if it's the sound of the sea she doesn't like. But she's really not fan of beaches, which can be a little bit of a shame. But it's really looking into Google Maps. And as I already said, I do like the slow traveling. I like nature, so I'm not going for the big cities. I'm already out on the small roads, and you learn a little bit of having an eye out of what could be a good spot for a night.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it comes with practice and learning to know what she loves as well.
Yeah.
So great that
Mm.
you've been able to find some spots that she really loves. What do you do, or how do you handle vet visits or medical emergencies when you've been on the road? Maybe you haven't had a medical emergency, but
No.
how would you handle that?
And I would just find the closest vet. But I have never had a medical emergency. I have all her checks up in Berlin before we leave. She also needs to have vaccination, so we, without any trouble, can cross country borders. And she also have a passport. She has an animal passport,
Hmm.
which is quite funny because I have in fact learned that that is an advantage, because like I said, you're not always allowed to park in nature parks, and sometimes like rangers come and check on you because you're not allowed to be there overnight, and no, and then they ask to see your ID, and then I give them my passport, and then I give them her passport, and normally they just starts to smile, and then I get to stay the night. So just they just think it's funny, and yeah. And also, I don't stay one place in long time unless it is really a place you can stay in long time. I move every day.
Oh, you move every day. Okay.
Yes, I move every day.
Do you find when you come across people that they want to interact with Eve, pet her? Because, cats on the road isn't, like you said, as common as dogs. I imagine
No.
if I came across you and Eve, being a
Mhm.
cat lover myself, I'd want to get to know you all and interact with Eve and pet her and
Yeah.
play with her. Do you find that people get kind of fascinated with the idea that you have this cat and you're out in nature a lot?
Yes, definitely. She doesn't like strangers petting her. So that part is very easy. She goes into the van. Uh, she needs a little bit of warming up to people, but then she is also very cuddling with others. But the first meet, that no touching here. Uh, so I, I tell people, if they try to normally, if some people comes, yeah, people are curious and they think it's funny we're traveling with a cat. And also sometimes when I'm parked somewhere, if I'm parked during the day because I need to work, Then I find a quiet place and a park, and she runs free. And sometimes there come people with walking their dogs, and those I normally inform them that, hey, I do have a cat who's running around here somewhere, so just be aware. And yeah, a lot of people thinks that is quite funny. I'm sitting there working on my computer and telling them, hey, I have a cat running somewhere.
Have you and Eve found, I know you said she loves the forest. Have you found a specific city or country that she was particularly fond of, or that was actually very cat friendly, maybe more than some other places?
I will say in general, everywhere where we have been, it has been easy. I don't know. We have only been in Europe because the passport is only covering Europe. But for example, we also have been in England with the ferry, and both the ferry and the Eurotunnel, and having her checked in and out, and it was easy. The ferry is an overnight ferry, and there she had to stay in the van. You're not allowed to bring animals up on the ferry. But there they had the service that you could check points. So they would take you down to the car deck, steward, and let you check on your animal. So I went down a couple of times and checked on her, and she was just sleeping. She was totally calm, because I was a little bit afraid she would be stressed out, because a ferry, and also especially the car deck in a ferry, there's a lot of noise.
Right.
But she was totally calm.
What's been maybe like the biggest challenge you've had with traveling with Eve?
I will say the biggest challenge there are limitation. Like I said, I do like to go to natures and things like that. But for example, there is also this a whole van life community where there are some popular spots where you park 10 to 15 people, and then you just dine together and talk and share the good spots and things like that. I would love to be a part of that. That is not gonna work. That is too many people for her. She's perfectly fine if we are a place where there's one or two other vans, but if it gets bigger than that, then she starts to get anxious. So that is a thing I have needed to deselect of an option, at least as long as I'm traveling with her. Yeah. And also, I don't do big cities because I'm not gonna leave her in the van in a big city for several days. Even though I will sleep in the van with her, it's just not an environment. The van is small. So one of the reasons why this works for us is also she gets out every day and get a bigger space. I don't think it would work if I was to keep her inside the van all the time.
Mm-hmm. How do you balance work with travel and making sure Eve gets the attention she needs?
She will take the attention she needs.
Okay. Yeah. Like even if you're not traveling, that's what cats do. They walk on your laptop. They smother you. Is she still on your lap right now?
No, she's it's a little bit it's getting dawn here, and then she's out trying to catch something.
But when you're working on the road, are you like, I know you do coaching calls, right?
Yes.
Are you actually doing those from your van or somewhere else? In your van, okay.
Yeah. Most of it I try to do from the van. I do if I'm traveling for a longer period, then I once a week rent a seat at a co-working space so I can get some things out of the way, really concentrated and sit and work. And there she stays in the van for that day.
Okay.
But then I also make very sure that our evening spot is one she loves. So she will get plenty of time in the evening in a spot she loves.
Okay, nice. Okay, so I was trying to come up with like a final question where I'm combining cats and coaching. So you gave some good advice for me. Like if I wanted to start with Nico and Milo, those are my new cats. You gave some good advice on how to start out. Now with the trying to combine this with coaching, let's say I have a mindset, I've got blocks in my head, like it'll never work. You gave these good tips, but it's still not going to work for my cats. What would be something you would ask me or an audience member who has a limiting belief on that there's no way I can travel with my cat, they would never tolerate? How would you maybe talk somebody through that mindset even?
Yes. I think my first question, I know my first question would be, how do you know that?
And you don't until you try, right?
Yes, a little bit, because it is a limiting belief, and a limiting belief comes from ourselves, and it can also comes from experience we have had. But it's also a little bit of, just because something worked like this once doesn't mean it has to work like this the second time. So it's this one of believing that you can change both how a situation are going, and you can also change what you believe is right.
Yeah, and I love that. And that advice, which you just gave, and that question could be applied to anything, any type of change you want to make, not just
Yes.
traveling with cats. So,
Yes.
really great advice. Daisy, let's start to kind of wrap up. I would love it if you could tell us a little bit about your coaching and what your website is, and maybe how to connect with you.
Yes. So I do what is called transformative coaching. That is really that I work with people's mindset. So I work with, like you said, limiting belief. I work with what is called storytelling. So in the way, if you are keeping telling yourself a story so many times that you believe it becomes true. So this is what is called storytelling. So not telling a good story and write a novel, but this one of have told yourself something so many times that you now believe is true. So how to break that down? It's also how to find new ways of seeing something. And that can, for example, be if you know you want to change your career, and you think you have thought of all the options and none of them works, then I will say 99% of the time you have not thought of all the options. So is this one of helping my clients to see beyond what they think is obvious.
Yeah, a lot of times we have blind spots, and you can help us kind of navigate those. So that's awesome. And then what is your website, and what is the best way to connect with you, either through your website or even on social media?
Yes. So my website is hilbrands.coach. So last name dot coach. So I will say the easiest way to find me are, in fact, just to Google my name, Daisy Hilbrands. Then you will find all my social media and things like that. I am, what you say, in the lucky position of having a quite unique name. So you will find me that way, just Googling my name.
And can you spell your website real quick?
Yeah. Hilbrands dot COACH. Sorry. I'm not used to
dot coach, right?
dot coach. I'm not used to saying letters in English, which is a little bit.
Yeah.
I just realized.
I'll make sure we have your website and other links for our audience members. Daisy, so just want to again kind of acknowledge you for not only doing the shift from the corporate world to being a transformation coach, kind of carving out your own path, and then not having that limiting belief like my cat is 10. There's no way she's going to want to start to travel now. You kind of busted through those. I don't know if you've even ever had that limiting belief, but anyway, you didn't make any excuses. Did you have that limiting belief yourself?
I will say I didn't have the limiting belief, but I did have I did know that this will perhaps not be possible to travel with a cat in a van. And then I need to find another option, because I knew this was how I wanted. I wanted to travel around and then perhaps it would have been Airbnb hopping or something like that. But
Right.
the van is the optimal solution for me. So yeah, I had, perhaps this will not work, but I also had the mindset of, I don't know if I don't try.
Right. Yeah, the advice you gave us. Well,
Yes.
David, thanks again for
Thank
being
you.
here. Thanks for opening up your life a little bit with you and Eve and all of your travels. Make sure you give Eve my best.
I will do.
And just thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome. And thank you for having me.
Everybody, thank you for watching this episode of the Cat Dad Show, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.